There is archaeological and scientific evidence that confirm the Bible. Cornelius Tacitus, Roman lawyer, consul, and historian. He was 4 years old at the time of the Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD. Writing in his Annals of the Emperor from Augustus to Nero, he commented on the rumors that Nero himself started the fire. Tacitus clearly believed that Nero had started the fire, but he didn't like Nero. And he wrote this, and so to get rid of this rumor, Nero set up as a culprit some punished with the utmost refinement of cruelty, a class hated for their abominations, who are commonly called Christians. Christus, from whom their name is derived, was executed at the hand of the procurator Pontius Pilate in the reign of Tiberius. Flavio Josephus, Jewish historian born in 37 AD, wrote his Antiquities of the Jews in 93 AD. This was before the Apostle John has died. He considered Jesus a wise man, if it be lawful to call him a man. He was a doer of wonderful works. He was a Christ. He wrote of his death in the time of Pontius Pilate and the resurrection, and he said, the Christians are not extinct at this day. Pontius Pilate, the dedicatory stone. He was the prefect in charge of Jerusalem in the time of Christ, who sentenced Jesus to the cross. In 1961, it was discovered the Pilate stone, a piece of carved limestone inscribed with the name of Pontius Pilate. Italian archaeologist Dr. Antonio Frova and his team came across the Pilate stone while excavating an ancient Roman theatre in Caesarea, Israel, which was built by the decree of King Herod around 10 BC. Although weathered by time, fragments of the inscription on the limestone may still be distinguished. From what archaeologists can read, it appears to be a dedication stone. It says, to the divine Augusti Tiberium, Pontius Pilate, prefect of Judea, has dedicated this. This discovery corroborates Pilate's position as prefect of Judea, as well as the era in which he held office. High Priest Caiaphas. This high priest Caiaphas was the one who ordered and planned the arrest and execution of Jesus Christ. The Caiaphas ossuary is one of the 12 ossuaries or bone box discovered in a burial cave in South Jerusalem in November 1990, two of which featured the name Caiaphas. The Caiaphas ossuary is a highly decorated ossuary twice inscribed Joseph, son of Caiaphas, which held the bones of a 60-year-old male. The limestone ossuary measures 37 centimeters by 75 centimeters long and is housed in the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. The Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scrolls were found in 1947 at the Qumran caves by a 12-year-old boy Bedouin shepherd Mohammed ed-Dib, recognized as one of the most spectacular archaeological findings in our era. Close to 9,000 scroll pieces, 500 different manuscripts, one-third of the manuscripts related to the Old Testament. Almost all Old Testament books were found except for Esther. The writings were in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. Three methods were used to reconstruct the scrolls: handwriting, infrared, and DNA. The Israelites made copies of the books letter by letter, not word by word, and they have to count the letters to make sure they have the exact quantity of the original and the same position of the original. With comparisons of a document 1,000 years older than the Dead Sea Scroll, the Masoretic text, they were 95% accurate. New Testament manuscripts. The manuscripts of the Gospel of the New Testament are only 100 years old from the original, with over 5,000 copies for comparison and growing. Other books found that are related did not contradict or affect the doctrine in Christianity faith. If we compare with other historical documents, we see that almost none get close to the veracity of the manuscripts. Plato, 427 to 347 BD. The first manuscripts we have are from 10th century, 1,200 years later. Herodotus, father of history, 484 to 425 before dating. The oldest copy dates 10 centuries, and 1,300 years later, only 8 copies. Julius Caesar, 100 to 404 before dating. Early copies of the Gallic Wars date 900 AD, 1,000 years later, with only 10 copies. Aristotle, 384 to 322 BD. Oldest copy were from 1100 years AD. 1,400 years later, with 49 ancient copies available for comparison. These are considered historical documents, yet none of these are close to the veracity of the New Testament documents. The universe. The heavens are telling the glory of God, and their expanse is declaring the work of his hand. Psalms 19:1. The expansion of the universe seems infinite, as the glory of God is infinite. Every day more images of the deep space emerge, showing the beauty of God's creation. When we took the far part of space, we are looking at the past. The light of different stars in different galaxies, or even in our galaxies, travel for many years to reach us. One of the so-called contradictions of the Bible is that the scriptures show a timeline to this day of 5,500 years from creation. Studies of the Earth and archaeological discoveries show the age of the Earth around 4.543 billion years. Is the Bible wrong and science is right? No, both are right. Science is self-explained why the Bible time differs from scientific studies. Genesis, the first book of the Bible, was wrote by Moses, according to what God spoke to him. In Genesis, it's God who's speaking of the days of creations. Through this point of view, in the theory of relativity by Albert Einstein, he predicted what is known as gravitational time dilation. It is a form of time dilation, an actual difference of elapsed time between two events, as measured by the observers situated in varying distance from a gravitational mass. The lower the gravitational potential, the slower time passes, speeding up as the gravitational potential increases. God being at the center of creation, for by him all things were created, both in the heavens and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions, or ruler or authorities. All things has been created through him and for him. Colossians 1:16. Considering the huge amount of masses and gravitational forces in him while creation was on the making, his point of view of that day was millions of years outside of him in creation. Blue giants. Blue giants are stars with a very hot temperature. They burn their gas faster than other stars, so they cannot last millions of years. Therefore, they shouldn't exist in a million years old galaxy, and yet they are there. Spiral galaxies. The outer arms of the galaxy rotate slower than the inner ones, so in a million of year time lapse, the galaxy will be twisted and beyond recognition. DNA is a polymer composed of two polynucleotide chains that coil around each other to form a double helix. The polymer carries genetic instruction code for the development, function, and growth and reproduction of all known organisms. The genetic code is the set of rules used by living cells to translate information encoded within genetic material. Genetic code in DNA was wrote and put there by someone. Orally, without the realm of possibility, DNA cannot make itself. It is coherent information. So you look at DNA and you know that God exists.